Hey guys, J77 here, doing another flashback review, the first flashback review of the 2013-2014 season. And the movie I'm going to be talking about is a movie that actually have changed my perspective in suspense. And since we're in October, Halloween season, where a lot of people are watching movies that goes bump at night, I'm able to talk about some movies from here to at least mid-November about films that had more of a psychological suspense to it rather than a general horror film that many people are usually seeing at the mainstream theaters today. I am referring to The Other, starring Nicole Kidman. This film pretty much tells the story of Grace Stewart. She is a devoted Catholic mother who lives with her two small children. Um, this film takes place in post-World War II, and these children who lives with her has a very rare disease which keeps them from sunlight. I'm saying this right off the bat because this plays an important premise to the movie without ever having been thrown out there too much. Needless to say, one day Grace is visited by three people who she thought was answering to a one ad she had placed for new servants. These servants that came along, and actually we have a mute girl. We have Mrs. Bertha, who is pretty much like the head of the group, as well as the gardener Edmund. These characters also plays a very strong part, but again, you don't know how important they play as until the film rolls along. Eventually, things are looking okay. Things are looking pretty all right. When all of a sudden, the children, particularly Anne, has been seeing things that neither a brother or a mother have seen. She even drew pictures of them, of these strange. I'm seeing a man, a woman, and a boy who she knows simply as Victor. Now, this film immediately put the premises that this is a haunted house story, and the film, for the most part, have kept it that way. And it did a good job building this up because as you see the situation, the mother doesn't believe her daughter. She thinks she's trying to pull the wool up on her eyes. But things started to happen. Things started to really start surfacing. For instance, there's a strict rule that the mother had made for her servants: don't leave without locking the door behind you. Make sure the doors are locked because just a glimmer of sunlight that comes in the room can really cause serious damage to all the children. The doors was open. She doesn't know how the doors were open, but she made it very clear that she wants those doors open from now on. But there were other stuff that started happening. Noises coming from the attic, the piano playing, even though nobody's there, and the door is locked. These are some of the things that has been going on. These are some of the things that's happening, and it's starting to take a toll not only on the children, but also on the mother, who is trying so hard to keep things together in an already awkward situation that she is placed in. Needless to say, things really started getting very interesting and very weird when the father returns from war. How long was he gone? Hasn't really been hinted, but you can tell just by what has been going on throughout the film. He's been gone very long. But even with that situation, you sense that something is off. You sense that something is not right. And through the time, especially with the daughter Anne, kept on hinting that her mother went mad. This is something that they kept throwing out there, not once, not twice, but three times in the film. And you begin to realize that there's something more than just a haunted house tale. There's something going on, and it involves the children. It involves the mother, and it even involves the servants to a large degree because you don't know who's the good guy, who's starting it up. You don't know what's going to happen. You think it's the servants because of some of the stuff they have done and how they talk to each other and how they seem to be covering up a bigger mystery. But you won't know until that grand, that big twist, that big reveal. And what a reveal it was in the end of the movie. Now, this film, I'm going to say off the bat, is one of my favorite films. When it came out in 2001, it was easily, hands down, one of my top 10 best films of that year. Granted, some of the critics were either mixed on this or loved this film. I think Roger Ebert was pretty much in the middle. I believe he gave it 2.5 stars. He said he praised it Nicole Kidman, but he felt there were other things that could have been more polished on. But he didn't hate the film. I can quite understand why he didn't give it such high esteem. When I saw this film, the first thing I asked myself, this is going to be what they're going to do. They're going to follow the formula of The Sixth Sense. This is going to follow what M. Night Shyamalan have done, because this is where these movies, suspense films, will start to resurface more and more and more. And M. Night Shyamalan was leading the pack with The Sixth Sense and then Unbreakable. This is a film that I said, okay, this film is going to be a total waste of my time, or this film is going to surprise me like no other. And this film surprised me. But it surprised me in a much different way. And this is where I kind of separate the two genres between horror and suspense. Horror is more a shock value, in my opinion. You see something, you see it's more bloodier. It has obviously a monster involved, or a crazy demon, or something, or a zombie-like creature. Freddy Krueger, Jason, Wolfman, those characters come to mind when I think of the horror, even classic horror. Suspense is a little different. Suspense works on actually telling a story, building up this story, and building up in a way that is uncomfortable, hard to watch, a little bit of jump scares, but building up to something even more. And you're so into it that even though you're trying to move away, you can't, because you might miss something that is extremely important. M. Night Shyamalan done it well with The Sixth Sense, and this movie have done it well with a lot of stuff they have done. Let me explain about the acting, because this is very important. The acting was superb in this movie. I thought that everyone played their role sharp, and pretty much everybody gave their A+ performance. Nicole Kidman left the charge. She is the focus character in this movie. Yes, the children is there, but make no mistake about it, Nicole Kidman's character is the focus of this movie. You are seeing her emotions loud and clear, for her spatial expression, her talking to her children as well as the other, and you can tell that she's been through a lot in the past, and she also been going through a lot as this film goes on. The chemistry between her and the children was also important. They worked it well off each other, and she even helped some of the younger actors, hide some of the weaknesses that probably would have been revealed had these young child stars have been under another director, or B, on another actor who never gotten used to working with children before. And Nicole Kidman really did a great job of being good herself, as well as making our little ones look good. That is not something that is very easy to do. So the acting I have no problem with. Let's talk about the pacing in this movie. The pacing to me was steady. It wasn't too fast. It wasn't too slow. It was pretty much the way it's supposed to be when it comes to suspense. It knew when to slow down on some important key scenes, but it knew not to stay on a certain scene too long. Most of the scenes that were very suspenseful, action-paced, they know how to speed up at the right time. When the film needs to give out very important dialogue, it knew when to stay knew when to stay steady at that time. So the film's pacing was just the way it's supposed to be. The story was strong. The story was very, very strong, because it told a story. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had that big reveal, and it paid off. If I have any criticism of this movie, any criticism at all, is that if you watch the beginning, and unless you wasn't paying attention, because a lot of people doesn't seem to realize that I actually have brought this up, those who've seen it. The title card at the beginning of the movie actually almost revealed a lot than what it needs to do, and I was kind of upset when I saw it the second time. I said, you didn't need to bring that up. Also, the hinting, although I didn't understand why she would say something like that, I knew it played a very strong part, so I was kind of worried throughout the film is he going to reveal something before the big reveal, and I kind of get a little upset when directors do that. M. Night Shyamalan killed me with The Sixth Sense on that, and I'll get to that in another review, but I kind of almost felt that this director was doing that a little bit too much, so I kind of wish he did, but that's a nitpick to the overall film. The music, although is not considered one of my best classic, worked it fine with this movie. You get a little bit thrown off when the beginning of the sound, because it actually is a good melody, a good theme song. The beginning theme of the others is actually a good song. Um, but overall, I think the song worked well with the movie. The score really did a good job. The jump scares, I'm gonna be honest with you, there were some jump scares I had in this movie that scared me, especially when you have a dark element going on. If you watch the film in the dark and you see how dark this film is. I'm not talking about dark in terms of bloody. I'm talking about how the scenery is. You are being put in a very uncomfortable, very intense, isolated environment, and that goes because of some of the stuff. And I'll talk about that as I go along. But I want to explain how the jump scares work. When she's walking, and out of nowhere you see an image, and that image comes in, it stalls you. It stalls you to the point where you didn't see and catch that by surprise. That's actually, whether it was intentional or not, it doesn't really matter. The point is, they had some pretty good jump scares that could just come right after you, just at a blink of an eye, especially if you're watching in the dark. Now, in terms of the structure, I have to say I was very happy that the director did this, and he did it the right way. A lot of times, a lot of films, when they try to explain certain things, they do it wrong, or they do it where a point where you feel like that the actor is telling the audience rather the other way around. In the beginning film, as she is meeting the servants for the first time and talking to them and explaining their duties, she's walking around the house. This is very important to know because it sets up the environment that this film is going to be from here on out. She explains about some very key important elements. Why you don't have power, why you don't have phone, and why everything is being shut down, or why the curtains are being pulled on. They were done this, like I said, this film is done after World War One, so obviously there's a lot of things that affected them to lead to a lot of stuff, including the disease that the children have. The first thing you notice is they don't have no phone. She mentioned it and she explained. I didn't bother putting on the phone because of the war and the phones were down, and I just said forget it, I'll probably put it on later, but that's not important. She didn't bother turning on the electricity because during the war they kept turning off the electricity, so the family learned to deal without. And then comes the big thing where she's shutting all the doors, closing the blinds, and she explained to the doctors don't know what it is, but they cannot be in sunlight. That's why the doors need to be closed all the time. That's why they need to be locked all the time to make sure that nobody accidentally opens the door, letting the sun in, and why the curtains be down. So automatically you're getting this dark, uncomfortable feeling, and automatically you're going to be into some very weird and stuff. Another thing that played a very good vehicle is in the scene when things really started to hit the fan. She went and do so much going on. She found what is called the Victorian Book of the Dead, and this is actually a real Book of the Dead. People actually have done this. Why? I don't know. That was during that time. I'm not going to question it, but the thing is, it did play an important part. The director gave you little tidbits of do expect this to come back, but it did it well. Where it's there, it's not, but don't dwell on it too much. Just know it's going to come back around later, and everything did. Everything when the big reveal, that third act, when it came around hard and it came around good. I have to say, this was when I saw this film again, I did not know what to expect with this movie. I did not know if I was going to like it, dislike it. I don't know. It was one of those movies that I took a chance. My expectations was not high for this film, largely because of Nicole Kidman. Now, I'm not hating on Nicole Kidman. There are some films I liked her in, but I liked her better when she is actually with a co-star. But in this film, it was a big exception. She was magnificent in this film. She really did deserve all the praises and the awards she have gotten for this film. There is no question about that. And I guess what I also like about it is it showed that you can actually be suspenseful. You can actually give me a scare without the usual blood and guts. And that's the thing I was very happy and very appreciative of, because I wasn't too sure if they was gonna, go bloody on me. They didn't do that. It scared me. It kept me interested. But the most importantly, it got me to care. I care for every character in this movie, and I want to know what was going to happen to them at the end. So when I seen what happened to them, when I heard what the mother had done to the children, I was heartbroken, I was saddened, and at the same time, I can now completely understand, especially after everything, the return of the husband, why he actually really left, to why she even went mad. It was explained. It was explained in this film what she was going through, and when you see it firsthand, as this film goes on, you can actually feel and understand what she's going through because it is a very stressful situation. The others, if I got any gripe, the others is probably the most misleading title that you probably have for this movie. And even though I can understand why he said why she had chosen this title because it is a ghost film, but not the one that you think, not the one that you come to expect. It's kind of like who's doing the haunting, them or the people who thought they were or they thought was doing the haunting. So that was the biggest thing about this film that actually worked for me because it did do a 380 on me in terms because I expected to see a typical ghost story. I did, but not the way they instructed it. So I really liked the creativity. I really liked the story. I really liked it the way they put the story. If I have any gripe, is they almost gave up half the film in the beginning of the title cards, and I kind of think that he could have slowed down a little bit with Mommy Went Mad One Day. It didn't need to be there, but I can understand why he did it. I understand why it did, and it paid off when the children was near that seance table, whispering to the old lady who turned out to be, I think, a medium in the film. The film gets 3.5 stars. It would have gotten 4 if it wasn't for some tiny little errors. It just messed it out. But make no mistake about it, this is one of the best films I have seen. One of my personal favorites from Nicole Kidman, and I would recommend to see it for 2 reasons. And I'm gonna get back to the important thing about this. Children suffers from XP. This is something I'm actually going to bring up again in the near future, whether it be movies that I'm actually working on that actually had a strong influence on laws and also on awareness. XP is a real disease. XP, actually, people do suffer from this of all races. Mostly, from what I understand, is more common in Asian countries, but people from all races can get affected about it. And it's a very dangerous, very cancerous disease, and what it does is that your body that normally would how we have some kind of resistance toward the ultraviolet sun. There are people who don't have that resistance, and just coming out of the sun can seriously burn them. Just being there for a second can seriously damage them. They can get second, third degree burns, and it is very, very cancerous. And because of this, there are people out there who cannot stay on the sunlight. They can only do all the activities at night. So there was actually been a special report on this. There was actually, even in the DVD, if you get the other DVD collection in the special feature, they actually even talk about it in more extent. There's actually a camp in New York City, not New York City, New York State, who is dedicated for families who have children who suffers from this. And even when I say this, the lifespan of this is not great. There are people who try to live normal lives, but make no mistake about it. This is a very, very, very painful, very stressful disease. But it can't be kept in check if long people follow the protocols to protect their children. Basically making sure they play only at nighttime, make sure they stay away from ultraviolet rays, making sure they shed, keep all the windows closed. And if they do that, they should be fine. But they must think that disease actually existed. And this film was praised by bringing awareness for this film. So kudos for them to actually bring it in. It was a focal point of the story. It may not have been the main focal point of the story, but it actually did help bring the film to light about why things are in this in that house and why things happen in that house. But most importantly, it also brought to light a disease which, I'm gonna be honest with you, not many people to this day know about. It's very little research on this. So if you ever get a chance, if you want to know more about it, I suggest you look that disease up. It's something that is definitely worth looking at because this does exist. That's it for now, guys. That's all I got to say about this movie. I will say about this film, it's not for everyone. This film, like I said before, it's a suspense psychological film. It's a different type of horror film altogether. So if you're not used to that kind of horror or kind of suspense, If you haven't even seen Psycho, because that's pretty much falls in the same line that what Psycho is, different way, but it has that same element of old time suspenseful horror storytelling. Then this film will probably turn you off because you're probably looking for something more bloody or something more gory. This is a film that's telling a story, has a strong theme to it, and it has what they call a big reveal in the end. But for what it's worth, it's one of the better suspense films I've seen, and I've seen a lot of them, but this one was one of the better ones that actually brought a newfound respect towards the word suspense. Well, that's all I got to say for now. This is J77 saying, did you like the film? Didn't like the film? If not, leave me a comment below. But until then, this is J77 saying take care, be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.